And I'm a little dismayed that I didn't receive one question on the deaths that we got in this country this weekend. I didn't receive one question about New York City shootings doubling for the third straight week, and over the last 7 days, shootings skyrocket by 142%. Not one question.
All right, that was Kayleigh McEnany there, the White House press secretary, scolding reporters at yesterday's briefing for failing to ask a single question about the gun violence happening across the nation over the holiday weekend. At least 6 children were killed. President Trump is now offering to step in and provide federal assistance if needed. Joining us now, Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf. Mr. Secretary, good morning, and thanks for being here this morning. So in what way can and would the president be willing to step in and offer that federal help?
Well, I think it's important to note this really starts with the local police, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and then the federal law enforcement is there as a third level backup, if you will. What we've seen is we need to make sure that the state and the local officials are asking for that help, that they're doing all they can to support law enforcement, and when they can't, they ask for that help. What we saw with Governor Kemp in Georgia is called in the National Guard to parts of Atlanta, and so we need others to step up and take that action as well. And then the president's been very clear. We can provide civil law enforcement support if a governor requests it, as well as some other options as well. But the law is pretty clear. That request needs to be made by the governor to the administration, and the president's been very clear. We will step in and we will support.
Has the president decided at what point he would step in if he doesn't see similar action that Governor Kemp took in Georgia, say in New York, Chicago? If you don't see further action, at what point is the president willing to step in?
Again, these are ongoing conversations that we're having with the White House, with the Department of Justice and others, taking a look at different localities, different cities that are experiencing this violence. And some of this violence is manifesting itself in different ways. We see what happened in Atlanta and Chicago, and then what we see in Portland and Seattle are much more organized, criminal, violent mob type of violence. And so you have to really come at that a different way. So we're taking a look at all of our options. But again, what we are requesting, what we're asking for governors, that if the capacity, your capacity is no longer enough to defend your cities, to restore that law and order, request help from the federal government. We will be there.
Got it. So I want to play this sound. This is Congressman Doug Collins. He was on Fox News earlier today praising the actions of Governor Kemp, but also putting pressure on local authorities to act on this violence. Listen.
I'm glad to see that the governor has brought up the National Guard. It's been something we need to see done. We need to give support to our local police down there, and I think the governor has done the right thing here. What we need is the Atlanta Police Department to be able to do their job and be able to clean out these areas without having to fear someone not having their back from higher ups.
At that point, Mr. Secretary, we led into you with the press secretary for the president showing frustration at that briefing yesterday for the lack of questions she was getting about this violence in our major U.S. cities. How do you make sure that this gets the attention it deserves?
Yeah, I think what we see, again, when we're talking Atlanta, Chicago, New York, and others, what we know is that criminals are violent opportunists. And so when you talk about defunding the police or you're attacking law enforcement, you're politicizing law enforcement, it emboldens that criminal element. And I think really that's what we've seen over the last weekend and going back several weeks now. So I think folks need to stop playing politics with law enforcement, give law support the tools and resources they need to do their job. Again, happy to see that Governor Kemp has stepped up, calling the National Guard in. I think there are other states that need to do that as well. And we talk about a thin blue line between law and order and chaos. And I think that's what we're seeing across the country now. And we need to give law enforcement that support. Yeah. And when that outpaces the support at the state or local level, federal government is here to support.
I want to put the president's tweet up on the screen on that final point. New York City, Chicago playing the sanctuary city card. The president writes, where criminals are protected, perhaps they will have to start changing their ways and thinking. So you're monitoring that situation. Meanwhile, House Democrats unveiled 2 bills yesterday aimed at stopping the border wall. This is the House Appropriations Chair Lowy on the congressional action taken to try to stop that wall. The bill will prevent President Trump from stealing any more appropriated funds from urgently needed military infrastructure projects to pay for his wasteful border wall. Our military families and veterans deserve our respect, not the shabby treatment they have gotten from this administration. How do you respond to her making the case that the Trump administration is trying to steal appropriated funds from the military and infrastructure projects, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah. Well, that's a political statement. All that bill is, frankly. The bill, I've taken a look at it. It's not serious about border security. It's not serious about restoring the integrity into our immigration system. The president's been very, very clear since day one, making sure that we have strong border security. We've built over 220 miles of new border wall system. We'll have 450 by the end of this calendar year. And when I go down and I talk to the men and women of the Border Patrol, the first thing that they ask for is a strong and effective border wall system. And I think it's really disgraceful that we have some politicians, some members of Congress who are questioning the men and women of the Border Patrol that work on that border each and every day. We give our military forces deployed overseas the best tools and resources to do their job. There's no reason that we shouldn't give the Border Patrol the very best tools and resources to do their job here at home. And so when I see certain politicians and others questioning the tools and resources that they need, again, it goes back to politics. And it's, like I said, it's disgraceful.
I want to finish off by asking you about DACA. As we get continued reaction to the Supreme Court decision last month, the president's expected to refile paperwork to end DACA. That was widely expected. But what can you tell us about the president's plans?
Again, we're talking with the White House about this. I think I'll go back to what the Supreme Court said. At no point during that decision, written opinion, did they say it was a lawful program. And I think that's important. We all know it's an unlawful program. They also said the Department of Homeland Security had the ability to rescind it. They simply didn't like the rationale and the procedures that we used. So we've taken a look at that opinion. We've rewritten a way to wind that program down. That's with the president and his decision at the end of the day, but we're here to support.
Obviously, that would likely be challenged in court as well. We appreciate your time this morning, Mr. Secretary. Thanks for coming on with us.
Okay, thank you.